Next on Worcester News Tonight, conversations on what the College of the Holy Cross should do with their mascot and what's the future for the name Crusader. Plus, after more than 60 years on the job, a Boylston milkman makes his final deliveries. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Senator Elizabeth Warren visiting Worcester Friday in an effort to raise awareness on hurricane relief efforts in Puerto Rico. Our Catherine Andrioli was there today and has the story.
These are our fellow Americans. We have a responsibility to help them and help them now.
Senator Elizabeth Warren rallying with dozens gathered at the Christian Community Church in Worcester. The senator speaking about disaster relief efforts for hurricane victims in Puerto Rico.
There are babies that need help. There are seniors in nursing homes who need help. There are families that are isolated. There are people who are sick who need help.
As Irma was coming in, we lost power and we're running water.
Jessica Salcido says she was in Puerto Rico visiting her mother when Hurricane Irma hit. She says there's a desperate need for help.
Our family members, our friends, they're dying and nobody's, it feels like it's just not getting to them in time.
Earlier this week, Senator Warren called on President Trump to provide more federal aid to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The senator says Puerto Rico is in need of medical resources, and it's time for the federal government to take action.
There are hospitals that have been damaged. So we've got, the worst of all possible worlds. More people who need medical attention and fewer places that are able to provide it. This has to be a first priority.
Community members voicing their concerns about the president's response to providing aid. Some say they're pleased to have their concerns heard. Many, like Jessica, are now hoping it will resonate in the White House.
It makes me feel like somebody in the government cares deeply about my people, where I haven't felt like that was necessarily the case with the federal government.
What do you hope kind of comes out of this whole meeting today?
Less talking, more doing, less, more the government getting in sync with what the people are saying, what's going on.
In Worcester, Catherine Andrioli, Worcester News Tonight.
Tonight, another gathering held at the Christian Community Church for the Worcester Community Relief Response. They've created an organization after Hurricane Maria hit the island called Amor para Puerto Rico, or Love for Puerto Rico. The group has met the past 3 Fridays to support one another as well as raise funds for the victims. They've teamed up with the United Way of Central Massachusetts to ensure money raised goes directly to Puerto Rico. Checks can be made to the United Way, and in the memo space, you can write Amor para Puerto Rico. For almost 100 years, the College of the Holy Cross has used Crusaders as the school's official nickname. Now the name and the school's mascot are again a topic of conversation over whether or not the school should keep them. Our Rosalind Flaherty has more on the issue, which has the college community and its alums talking.
The College of the Holy Cross is starting a conversation about the name Crusader and its mascot.
Over the last few years, there's been questions raised about the appropriateness of the Crusader name and the mascot.
The college took on the name Crusader in 1920, and the mascot is at the center of sporting events. Edward O'Donnell is an associate professor of history at Holy Cross. He says in the 1900s, the name seemed positive, but says it's become more controversial.
It does, take us back to the 10th and 11th and 12th centuries when Christians crusaded in the what they determined to be the Holy Land against Muslim, what they thought of as Muslim occupiers.
A group was created last week to sort out this issue. A letter was sent to alumni Thursday asking them to weigh in. It reads, in part, in what ways do you think the Crusader moniker and mascot are appropriate or inappropriate representations of the college, given our mission, values, and identity?
Let's think about this and hear different perspectives from all the different groups, alumni and students and faculty and parents even.
Over the next few months, the college will collect people's opinions and make a decision.
We will go through every one of those responses and sort them into pros and cons, but also different ways in which people weigh in on the question.
Senior Tess Andrakis is a student representative. She says the college wants to make sure the mascot and the name represents their values.
I think I'm hearing different views, but the one consistent thing is that we're really glad that Holy Cross is providing the space for dialogue and conversation.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
The Forest Grove Middle School field hockey program has only been around for 1 year, but in this short time, it's grown exponentially. Funded solely by donations, Friday, the 8th grade team played its first official home game on their new field, named after head coach Jane Dowd. It's located just behind the school, equipped with all the proper field lines as well as nets. Players tell us the reason behind the success of this team has been the coaches going above and beyond.
Our beach days, when they could be at the beach with their families, they spend at home, scheduling games and practices, and they just put in so much work, and I'm so thankful that they've done this for all of us.
They've gotten us our uniforms, they've gotten us extra shirts, they're just the best.
So it's no surprise coaches tell us the turnout has been amazing. Since last year, the team has more than doubled. Well, now to a police-involved shooting in Lunenberg. Tonight, we're learning more about the incident. Alicia Palumbo has the latest on the investigation.
Your charge with 2 counts of attempted murder.
31-year-old Brian Binder of Nashua, New Hampshire, faced a judge and a courtroom full of police officers after allegedly firing at police in an early morning foot chase along this stretch of Route 13 in Lunenberg Friday. Those officers were responding to a 911 call for a suspicious person.
They found the defendant there in a driveway. While he was there, he removed a firearm from a backpack and discharged it at 2 police officers who were responding.
Investigators say Binder fired several rounds but missed the officers.
The defendant then ran from the scene. Officers chased the defendant and apprehended him. During that, he was actually wounded by one of the officers, which discharged their firearm, Your Honor.
In court, you could see Binder's bandaged hand where he was shot by police and some scratches to his face.
It's crazy. It doesn't matter, I guess, where you live nowadays. It just happens everywhere, and he's crazy for even thinking he could shoot at a cop.
Kelly Boucher lives nearby and says she's grateful police were able to track down Binder in these woods before he escaped or injured anyone.
I'm just glad they were able to handle the situation the way they did, and nobody was killed or anything, 'cause that would have been terrible.
Binder is being held without bail pending a dangerousness hearing scheduled for Tuesday. In Lunenberg, Alicia Palumbo, Worcester News Tonight.
President Donald Trump has declared September National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. Here in Worcester, families who have lost loved ones to a fatal overdose gathered to remember them Friday. Flowers were laid at a new memorial at Worcester's Peace Park off of Pleasant Street. It's dedicated to those who have lost their lives to addiction. City and state leaders spoke about their efforts to combat the growing problem of opioid addiction. Worcester's Commissioner of Health and Human Services says tackling this epidemic is a top priority.
We need to work together as a community to end this. We need to change the stigma. We need to give a hand to one another and help, and not look at somebody as they're different, but say that I'm going to help.
According to the state's Department of Public Health, more than 1,900 people died of opioid overdoses in 2016, 56 in the city of Worcester alone. Today, fallen Massachusetts law enforcement officers were remembered in Boston. The State Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation held their annual ceremony. 8 officers killed in the line of duty had their names added to a monument, including the name of fallen Auburn police officer Ronald Tarantino Jr. Officer Tarantino was killed during a 2016 traffic stop. The suspect was later killed by state police. This week, the shooting was ruled justified. Also added was the name of State Trooper Thomas Clardy. Trooper Clardy was killed last year as well. Another driver slammed into his cruiser on the Mass Pike in Charlton. Trooper Clardy was from Hudson. Congressman Richard Neal discusses a number of topics, including tax reform, at the Worcester's Regional Chamber of Commerce's Business and Government Forum Friday. The representative for Massachusetts' 1st Congressional District touched on health care, taxes, and national economics. Congressman Neal says over the next few months, Washington will be focusing on the tax system changes. He says Massachusetts should not give up deductions for state and local taxes.
That's a huge issue here in Massachusetts, as it is in many other states across the country. And that would mean a substantial tax increase if that deduction were taken away for the people of Massachusetts. So that one is going to be guarded zealously.
President Trump's new plan for tax reform includes the corporate tax rate going from 35% to 20%. After 63 years in the dairy delivery business, Roger Wentzel of Boylston is calling it a career. He's closing Model Dairy and retiring today. Our Brittany Schaefer saw him on his last delivery and has the story.
After 63 years of delivering milk, Roger Wentzel took his antique truck out for one last delivery route Friday.
Hasn't sunk in yet, but I'm sure it will.
The Boylston man started working in the family business when he was just 15 years old and says one thing kept him going all those years.
The people. That's what it's all about.
But earlier this month, Wentzel decided it was time to retire. He sent his customers a notice, and he says many were shocked to hear the news.
Sad to see you go, but good luck.
Sadness. They're absolutely very sad to see him go. They're also pretty happy for him to finally retire. He's been at it a long time, and he deserves a nice retirement. They love him. I see that. They really love him.
Gibson Dairy Farm supplies Wentzel with milk and eggs. Co-owner Sarah Gibson will be taking over his route. She says she has big shoes to fill.
He's kind of a legend in the industry of home delivery. I have the pleasure of being able to ride with him all week and meet his customers and learn what he does. And next week I'm going to take over and hopefully do half as good a job as he does.
Wentzel says he will miss the work, but he's looking forward to relaxing in his retirement.
Hopefully do some traveling maybe, and my wife likes to travel, so maybe we can do that.
Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
Congrats to him on his